everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the New Prism Podcast. I'm Marty.
And I'm Pete. We're glad you're here, but we have news, don't we, Marty?
Yeah, we do. We have a new name for the podcast, right? And it's called Humans in the Loop. An expression that some of you may have heard, and an increasingly popular expression when you talk about AI. And we like it because we definitely see the trend of AI moving more and more where human input and human accuracy and sort of human, another layer of humanity, if you will, interacting with AI is becoming increasingly important. And when we were thinking about all of the themes that we want to talk about and everything that we're going to highlight in this podcast, we thought it was a great name. So that's where we're focused. So what's new with you, Pete?
Doing good, doing good. Nothing really new, but my personal economic indicator is flashing yellow. Do you ever shop at Costco?
That is not my go-to spot, but why do you ask?
Well, it's my favorite store. I go
Okay.
at least once a month to stock up on toilet paper, paper towels, household necessities, bulk Pete's coffee, and the occasional fun purchase. Like I got a new rolling workbench the other day for my garage. Great, good products, great prices. You're getting a good deal because 75% of their profits are generated by membership fees, not by product margin. And I know from a good friend who sold through Costco that their margins were pretty slim. I do this drill every time I visit Costco, and I think of it as my leading economic indicator, or at least an assessment of kind of consumer sentiment. There's two sides to the store in Costco, kind of a discretionary side and a necessity side. The necessity side is food. The discretionary side is dishes and luggage and tools, all kinds of stuff. So what I do is I walk the store and I count the average number of people on the discretionary side versus the average number of people per aisle on the necessity side. And I had my worst score ever. It was 1.7 people per aisle in the discretionary side versus over 15. I couldn't even count them in the necessity side. So it just tells me that people are not buying discretionary purchases; they're buying food. I don't know if my personal indicators is the truth. Let's hope it's an anomaly, but I think consumers are feeling the pain.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's okay. Interesting story. The Pete Buell Costco test. But I think you're right, and it's relevant to what we're going to talk about. I do think that the tech industry in particular, there's this phrase called the Great Freeze that you might have heard of. Where what does that mean? It's people hesitating. Whether you're a company, you're kind of hesitating to hire, or you're hesitating to invest in a new initiative, or maybe pull the trigger on an acquisition. Or you're a person and you're kind of you're hesitating to make a change in your own life, et cetera. So it feels like everybody's a little bit in this kind of frozen, except in AI, right? So in the AI space, it's frenetic, right? And we talked about this on the last couple of our podcasts, but that has not slowed down. If anything, just the number of tools and the number of AI announcements coming from all the major players and new players it's every day, right? And I think that back to the human in the loop, I think people part of the freeze might be if you're not in the AI space and you're reading all that, you're kind of stunned. You're like, I don't know where to go with this, right? I feel a little bit overwhelmed. Might be a good way to put it. What do you think?
Yeah, totally. That's my view. I think we've got a tale of two economies. We've got kind of consumers and what I'll call normal companies that are tightening their belts, uncertain what to do. We've got tariffs. We've got all kinds of uncertainty in the marketplace. And these AI-driven tech companies are just doubling down, running into the sun to chase the exponential growth opportunities that they're seeing. And it's really, two sides could not be more different. Kind of creates an interesting course for everyone in the non-exponential category to navigate, which is probably a good jumping off point here for kind of this new Prism discussion.
No, it is. So let's get into it. So in our first podcast, we talked a lot about what we call the end-to-end process of a company tackling major strategic decisions and how to kind of go through that. And we sort of outlined these basic steps that we called fast track, and we thought it was a good tight process that we had learned in our careers through many implementations of, and working through the operational challenges there. Last podcast, we focused on the alignment piece. And so, we were really, and we actually highlighted a tool that you've been building called Align IQ. And the point of that was, no matter what you say about the upfront part, you got to get aligned as a team, and that's hard. But the ROI of being aligned is really high. So we were kind of like, okay, let's focus on that. Now, in this podcast, we're gonna back up a little bit, and we're gonna focus on, okay, well, if you're getting aligned around the key goals, how do you strategically arrive at those key goals, right? What's the process that you go through to come to agreement on a very focused set of strategic priorities that you need to execute and get aligned on? So today we're going to focus on that. And as usual, whenever you and I dive into these topics, we're always highlighting current AI tools. We're using them. We want to give our opinion on them. And I think these tools kind of equally amaze and frustrate, right? So we're going to get into that.
Yeah, just a bit on the tools. I think the progress that I'm seeing personally in these AI models is just incredible in terms of their ability to understand complex information. Mm-hmm. I have this test that I do regularly where I take an investor deck that's paired up with an Excel file, like a complex Excel file with a bunch of tabs and sum if functions and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I ask the AI to give me assessment of the company, identify inconsistencies between the deck and the spreadsheet, tell me some of the prospects for the company, given the industry landscape and that sort of thing. And so historically it's been, kind of blah, not that interesting. And it really could not understand the spreadsheet. Just in this past week, I was blown away by the insights. Deck, no problem. Had a deep understanding, of the deck and kind of all the storytelling that was in the deck. It could consume that. But now the understanding of the spreadsheet was just off the charts. And I even went back and I questioned the AI on an obscure line item in the spreadsheet that I knew about, and it had the right answer. And its method for figuring it out was just completely uncanny. It was like taking bits and pieces from the deck and bits and pieces from the spreadsheet, and maybe even going out and searching the web and kind of compiling a view on that particular item, which just was shocking for me. And I repeated this across OpenAI, on Manus, on Gemini. They were all good, but I'd say OpenAI was the clear winner just in terms of being very quick, communicating, kind of the story in a way that I could consume quickly and understand, and had the deepest understanding. So that's all great. It just saves some venture capital associate a week's work. But how far do you go? Do you write a $5 million check to the company based on what the AI said? No, probably not. You need some kind of quality assurance. While it's good, is it good enough? Right? There's got to be some kind of verification. There's got to be a human in the loop to kind of take what the AI is telling you. You probably got to meet the people involved in the company. You probably want to meet the competitors. There's still a people element to all this, and AI is not going to solve that.
No, I agree. I had a similar experience. I think you and I kind of both went through a similar experiment, and I spent a lot of years early in my career in kind of what people corporate strategy and corporate development, right? And we would work with outside consultants like a Bain or a McKinsey or what have you. And I took some experience that I'd had earlier in my career, and I kind of modeled it in terms of like, here's a strategy overview, here's a business plan. Based on these inputs, ask the AI, okay, how should I look at this data about the company or about the market, and where should I focus? What am I learning? What are the key strategic insights here? And I was equally blown away by not only by the accuracy of the insights, but just the way that they were described, the sophistication of how it went about it, et cetera. And that those answers are coming back in what? I don't know how long it took you, but I'm thinking it was like 5 minutes or something like that. So you're getting a massive amount of actually accurate, insightful information that would have taken a month, right? To even working with an outside consulting firm. So we're in this new world, and I think all this talk about agentic AI and how the AI is going to start taking action itself to push it a little bit further. Okay, that now we go to the next step, but I'm not sure we're really ready for that. And I'm wondering, you've had some recent experience on the frustrating side, so that you and I just gave examples of like, oh wow, look how amazing this is. It is, but you've
Yeah.
also had some experience on the frustrating side, right?
Yeah. So as you know, I've been doing this vibe coding thing
Yeah,
for 40 plus hours a week. I'm totally addicted to it. It gives me
dude.
this new power to code that was
Yeah,
never something I could do before. But I'm finding the
right.
limitations as I get deeper into my app.
Okay.
And I love that picture you sent me of the guy on the telephone pole trying to unwind all those wires. That's kind of like what I feel like in this vibe coding thing. I get so deep into it, and then I'm trying to get some little thing fixed, and the
Yeah.
coding agent just doesn't get it,
Okay.
and it's super challenging. So originally I was thinking, oh, I'll just go for perfection on this with this vibe
Hmm.
coding thing, and now I get into these spaces where I can't figure out the problem, so I'm taking detailed notes of areas where I'm going to need to get an engineer in here to help me,
Hmm.
kind of fix the problem or understand it, where my lack of coding knowledge just doesn't solve
Hmm.
the problem.
Hmm.
They just in Replit they just added Claude Sonnet 4.0. So yeah, I can note it's a little bit better than it was before, but I'm still kind of getting used to it. And I'm pretty sure we'll get to full MVP functionality on the app. But there's no question that human in the loop
Hmm.
is necessary to kind of get this thing over the line.
Hmm.
Um, I'll give you one example that I thought was really funny. As I was going through kind of trying to fix something in the app, and the app made a change to something that I did not ask for. It completely degraded the app. So I asked
Hmm.
it why it made the change, and it came up with an excuse that was a lie. It wasn't the truth. So
Hmm.
when I challenged the lie, and I'll just read this to you because it's great. It says, "You're absolutely right, and I apologize for the confusion. I don't have a clear memory of the original structure because I was focused on fixing the JSX syntax errors. I should have been more careful to preserve the original design while fixing technical issues. Thank you for catching this." So then, right? So then I asked it,
Okay.
well, how can we avoid this in the future? Can I give you better prompts? And it
Hmm.
said, the issue isn't really about memory retention. It's about my approach to problem solving. I took a rebuild from scratch approach instead of a fix what's broken approach. A human would naturally preserve what's working and only change what's necessary to fix the immediate problem. Going forward, I'll be more methodical.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
So this is
isn't that
okay.
crazy? So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I have no idea if that's just like the
Yeah.
Labrador Retriever telling me it's going to be more
Right.
methodical,
Right.
but at least
Right.
it's telling me what I want to hear.
Right.
Um, so now
Yeah.
my
It's
my go my
amazing.
go to approach when I get into these pickles, I'll
Hmm.
spend like 30 minutes to an hour trying to fix
Hmm.
something.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, what I do is I take the entire thread with the agent and I cut and
Hmm.
paste that into a different agent, into
Yeah.
ChatGPT. And by and large, ChatGPT will look at like my back and forth with the agent over an hour and say, "Oh, I think this is what's going on." And I'll say, "Give me a prompt," and I'll put that prompt back into Replit. And
Hmm.
I would say over half the time it solves the problem.
Okay.
So it's multiple
Yeah.
agents kind of working on the problem. So human loop, still
Yeah.
clearly
We
necessary.
need it. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's an amazing vignette. It's like I don't need you to tell me in detail why you're wrong and keep apologizing like some sycophant that works.
yeah,
It's like I
yeah,
need you to actually fix
yeah.
fix a problem. Yeah, so I think, and by the way, and that's interesting. I've been reading more and more and seeing more and more people kind of complaining about that,
Yeah.
where actually originally you think I'm going to save 99% of my time. And then it's like, this is saving 75% of my time. And then it's like, this is saving 40% of my time. Then it's like, this is costing a lot of time for me to get this right. So I think, yeah, I think humans we haven't gotten to the point where it's doing what you want it to do in the way that you want it to do it. And maybe it never will in the sense that a human, as the tool gets better, as the LLMs get better, as agentic gets better, you still need that human in the loop to actually make critical decisions along the way, authenticate, yeah, this is the right process, track progress, and give guidance in the way that it needs to give guidance and so forth. So there's a debate in the market, and I'm sure you're aware. There's kind of the people that really promote this so-called scale debate, which is as the LLMs just get more scale, more scale, more scale, scale solves all problems. It's like induction solves all problems, right? The more details I have, the better I'll be at predicting the right answer. And so just add more compute and just get there. But there's another side of the debate which says no, well, that'll never get you all the way you need to get. You need that expertise. You need that human in the loop. You need that sort of deductive logic that also is combined with the LLMs to really get you to the powerful answer. And that's kind of the way our brains work, right? So I think that seems to make more sense to me. And when I hear stories like yours, or then I think, yeah, we need to get that human in the loop, right? There's some fancy terms like neurosymbolic that people talk about, where you're combining LLMs and kind of that inductive approach I was talking about with kind of the more top-down, logic-driven, human expertise-driven. And I do think it's that combination. And by the way, when that grand unification comes together, we may start getting closer to AGI. This may get to that point, right? What do you think?
So I have this thing I call AVGI, Artificial Variable General Intelligence. Sometimes I get a PhD that gives me a great answer. Sometimes I get a Labrador retriever that just says, yeah, here you go, kind of like the text that I was reading it before. I think it really depends, for any decision, on the degree of impact or risk that the issue you're trying to solve with AI, involves, right? So it's no problem to send out 1,000 marketing emails. The risk is relatively low that something goes wrong. But if you're hiring an employee, you definitely want to meet with that person. I hear stories now about companies having fake employees that they didn't know about, and now they're forcing everybody to come into the office and kind of meet your boss and that sort of thing. The same is true with making a payment, right? You're not going to make a payment unless you're a human's in the loop and saying, yeah, it's okay to make that payment, certainly above some dollar amount. But I think, so that's one issue with AI. I think the other issue with AI is that it creates this idea overload. Anyone now can get an infinite number of really good AI generated ideas to solve a problem. So we've moved from this analysis paralysis that we all, kind of had back in the day to solution paralysis. We have an overwhelming flood of possible actions or pathways that we can go down to solve the problem generated by AI tools. So how do we manage through this? I think that's kind of another layer of complexity that we got to think about.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think that's, you and I, when we, and New Prism Consulting, the way that we approach it, you and I have always approached it, is you need to do that smart thinking up front. And yeah, use the AI tools, but use them judiciously, use them in the right way. But they can definitely accelerate the process, but it's not a substitute for everything, right? So you got to do that smart thinking up front. You got to make sure you're lining around the right stuff, which we really highlighted in our last. So it's almost like there's this smart filter to managing, aligning, and executing on key actions, right? And that's really where we help people kind of rise above the noise, and sort of get really focused on that North Star, if you will, and driving clarity around that and aligning around what really matters, et cetera. And then weaving in the usage of AI to really help you get that right and help you accelerate that and help you broaden your impact, by using these tools. So it's kind of turning strategy into measurable execution. It's keeping everybody aligned, everybody focused, and feeling confident about where they're heading. And to your point, not just getting busy, right? Not just, my old boss had a great expression. He was like, well, logo makers make logos, right? So, and by that, it's like, well, you're going to get a lot of logos, but at some point you got to pick one. You got to move to you got to execute. You got to align around a logo. Exactly. You got to fix it.
Don't just that's kind of where the Align IQ, right? The product that we're working on, kind of comes in with this MOP program, right? Like you pick these kind of key strategic objectives and you filter them down, and you kind of use AI tools along the way to help you, articulate those objectives, execute against those objectives, and keep everybody aligned and on the same, on the same track together, and really focus on doing the things that are going to move the needle for your company.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so as always, alignment it's kind of easy to say, hard to do, and the upfront strategy work is kind of fun to do, but hard to get focused sometimes, and really getting into the operational side of the equation. All right, well, hopefully this was helpful discussion, and it's a super interesting time. We're glad to be part of it. That's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see everybody next time.
See you later.